I was going to make a reaction video to this. About a month ago or a month and a half ago, Trudeau came out under oath and said you were being funded by Russians.
Yeah.
And we haven't responded to that yet. So I thought we should.
Right. Well, those Russians, problem with Russians is they promise you the moon and then they never pay you. So I haven't got a cent or a ruble from the bloody Russians. And so anyways, let's take that apart. Okay, so the first thing we'll point out is that the reason Trudeau did that is because he isn't very bright.
I'd have got confused.
He did get confused. So what happened was there was a bit of a scandal that emerged around, what was the name of the media company? Lauren Chen was running it, right? And Lauren apparently entered into an agreement with a relatively shady Russian agent, I think that's fair to say, who promised her a substantial amount of money to start to expand her media presence into a new company, which would be center-right, online. And she involved some other people.
They didn't know.
They didn't know. No, they
Yeah.
didn't know. Lauren Southern and Dave Rubin and Tim Poole were the main people who were implicated, although there's been no investigation into them. The evidence is quite clear that they had no idea where this money was coming from. They never accepted any editorial control over their content, and they were minimally involved in this new media enterprise. I watched Lauren Southern testify in front of Parliament, and one thing I would recommend to parliamentarians in relationship to Lauren Southern is you better be sure that you're smarter and more charismatic than Lauren Southern if you're going to bother questioning her, because otherwise she will slash you to death with her tongue, which is exactly what she did do, and it was quite something to see. I mean, that woman has been through hell, and I wouldn't mess with her casually, and they were messing with her casually, and it was quite something spectacular to watch her respond. It was like watching a mongoose kill a snake. And so you can watch that. It's worth it. Lauren Southern and the Canadian Parliament. I mean, there's a mismatch. Yeah. It's like a jungle cat tearing apart a teddy bear. One of those creepy teddy bears that you see in horror movies that sort of slink along the floor. It's so ugly and horrible.
One eye hanging down.
Yeah, that's the one. It's like, Lauren, what are you doing with the Russians? You're an idiot, and you're incompetent, and you're part of what's wrong with this country. Yeah. She's quite the force of nature. Anyways, I think Trudeau got confused because that's his permanent state of being. And, he's just the prime minister and the leader of a G7 country, and it was just a parliamentary committee, and so I have no legal recourse. And so he can basically say whatever he wants, and that is what he said. Me and Tucker Carlson, Russian agents, so...
We did contact lawyers about it, because we're like, can we sue? No, you can't sue. Not if he's
No,
under
there's
oath.
nothing you can do.
So apparently this happens quite often because they're under oath, so people trust it more because it's under oath.
Yeah.
And so what people say is, say it when you're not under oath.
Yeah.
As soon as you say it when you're not under oath, you're able to be sued.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I think,
I think
with,
it was a mistake,
with Trudeau,
though.
it's always narcissism, confusion with a leaven of malevolence, and I'm sure that was at work here. I know he's no friend of Tucker
Or
Carlson.
literally stupidity.
Yes.
Right-wing people like Tucker and Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been that much thought.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure. That's for sure. So I'm afraid the fortune in rubles that is supposed to be coming my way has failed to make itself manifest. And that there isn't much else to be said about that except that it's exactly what you'd expect from him. It's exactly the depth of analysis, exactly the careless reputation savaging. It's exactly the narcissism. It's precisely the lack of depth in terms of analysis. It's everything you'd expect from Mr. Taylor Swifty, and out there being a 14-year-old handing out friendship bracelets to... Do you know, this actually happened? Even though I can't believe it. It's like Keir Starmer admitting that the whole immigration scheme in the UK was an experiment that was run by elites on the Brits, and they were all lied to. He just came out and literally said that yesterday. He literally said that. It's like, that's not an AI fake. It's like, well, what sort of reality are we in? Apparently that one. And so Trudeau was handing out friendship bracelets to this girl on who filmed it and put it on YouTube, and she trolled him. She put up a video showing that he was at the concert, and she wasn't very thrilled about that because she's 15 years old, and she knew enough to know that the leader of a G7 nation shouldn't be at a Taylor Swift contest with all these 15-year-old girls, or Taylor Swift concert with all these 15-year-old girls handing out friendship bracelets, and he came over to give her one. It's something like that. I may have the details wrong because I don't have the stomach to actually investigate this, and shared a friendship bracelet with her, and she was trolling him. And that's exactly right, is that we have a prime minister who has the media wisdom to be trolled by a 15-year-old at a Taylor Swift concert. It's no wonder that Canadians are now poorer than everybody who lives in Mississippi. Okay, so we're done bitching about that?
Yeah, man, that was most of the podcast. We had a lot to say about Canada this episode.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll turn around. It usually follows what America does. Like, I've seen that growing up. Yeah. It was like, fashion is cool in America. Then the year after, it's cool in Canada. Music is cool there. Then the year after, it's cool there. Wokeism's cool in America. And then Canada's like, no, we're the wokest. And now it's like, there's been such a comeback of conservatism. And it's not even that.
It's so weird, to watch what's happened in the last month, because it's like the podcast host and guest world took over the United States. It's so remarkable.
Crazy. I'm still not over it. It just switched.
I know.
It was like, we've been walking around for like 6 or 7 years. It's longer than that. Oh my gosh, longer than that. 8 years? Being like, what's going on? Does anyone else see this? This is crazy. Does anyone else think this is crazy, or is it just me? And it turns out a lot of people think this is crazy, and just like, whomp, reality switched. Yep. It's weird.
All those undereducated working class slobs turn out to be pretty damn perspicacious when it comes to detecting reality, unlike those who've benefited from the advanced education in women's studies, for example, courtesy of the Ivy Leagues. So, So that's I know fun. It's so weird. I
know. I said the other day, I was like, what are you going to say on Twitter that's controversial now? All the conspiracy theories are out. They were all true. Yeah. It's done. Like, what's left to be like, we can complain about Canada and what's going on in the UK. Like, there's issues elsewhere, but like, which one of your views, even this college case that's pursuing you, all these things you said, it's taken so long to pursue you that like all of America agrees with everything you said.
Yeah.
Which is really convenient, I gotta say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, I certainly don't regret any of the things I said. The complaints, I complained about Trudeau.
Yeah.
And apparently that's not acceptable. Even though my comments about Trudeau were dead on the money, I complained about some of the people that he had gathered around him who, were the sort of people you should complain about. And I complained about a city councillor who lied during the trucker convoy. That's looking pretty good. I complained about the trans butchers. I'm really happy about that. I'll complain some more about them, because they certainly deserve it, and I'm completely right about that. I mentioned to Joe Rogan, because somebody handed in the whole transcript of a Joe Rogan podcast that he did with me as the complaint, and I complained about the fact that idiot economists had stacked their idiot economic prognostications going out 100 years on idiot climate prognostications that go out 100 years, and that's just not the least bit acceptable. No one can do that. It's impossible. And that's true. And you notice the Democrats themselves didn't say a damn word about climate in this last election. Right.
Yeah.
No, not at all. They just dropped it. And the reason for that is it's a lie, folks. So just like so many things have turned out to be a lie. And that's a big one. And so, I don't regret any of the things I said.
And there was the swimsuit model.
Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, yes, I also objected to the proposition that an extremely overweight swimsuit model is A, beautiful, and B, athletic. Certainly not the intersection between beautiful and athletic, which is actually the criteria for being featured on the cover of swimsuit or sports swimsuit.
Well, it should be,
illustrated.
but apparently it's not.
Yeah. So,
But then Maha's taken over,
Yeah.
which is weird too. It's like now everyone's on board that, chronic disease is actually a problem.
and
It's
obesity
like-
actually turns
well,
out
it's
not
like,
to be the best
yeah,
of all possible
hey,
ideas.
People who are worried about non-toxic products aren't weird anymore.
Yeah.
Suddenly in like a day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for sure.
Really relaxing now.
Well, what does Elon Musk keep tweeting? We're in the most preposterous of all timelines, and that's
fun.
Well, he said for years, and something I've thought as well. I've always thought this with regards to dealing with bureaucracies. The most idiotic and comical outcome is the most likely one, and that's certainly what I've seen.